Hi everyone. Gonna wait a few seconds for people to tune in. Hello to everyone who's joining in. I'm Banaisha Kharas today on Namami Live's Mind Over Matter. And today's topic, what we're going to be talking about is coping with change. Something everyone's trying to figure their way around it. All right. So just going to wait for a few more minutes. Actually, a minute. I see a bunch of you here already who are here every week, and I just want to say thank you very much for always tuning in, and it's great to see you week after week. All right, so today we're going to try something new. I'm going to be sharing a couple of images today while I speak. So feel free to screenshot them if you think that they would be good for you. All right, and I'm just gonna start soon enough. All right, so let's begin. So starting off with change is constant, is what we hear always, right? And change is around all of us. So something that you constantly hear is the famous quote which says that change is constant and there's nothing you can do about changing times, and the only thing that changes is change, and so on and so forth. There are many such quotes on the same. So what we're going to talk today about is, of course, how to deal with change, and I'm going to give you a couple of my hacks, the Banaisha way on how I deal with change rather. But I'm going to instill having this conversation with you before about if you've really thought about change in this format. All right. So I'm moving on to my first question. Where is our attention when all of this change is happening? So there are lots of changing things that happen. Let's begin with our favorite topic, which is COVID-19. So COVID-19 has changed a lot of things around us. It has changed the way we eat. It has changed the way we think. It has changed the way what we eat also, right? A lot, the word immunity has been boosted so much than never before. So the question is really that where is your attention when change is happening to your lives? Where is your attention amongst the changing relationships that you are having, or the changing job scenarios that you might be in? So where exactly is your attention when change is occurring in your life, right? So a bunch of you can throw in a couple of answers as to where change is happening in your life, and do you really focus on it? Do you really focus on that kind of change? So the fact is that we actually go out there and go to fix things around us. We are obviously in this state of let's go fix the world, let's go see what we can do for the world, and we go out there. So we get our whole NGO mode on, philanthropist mode on, and we are going and seeing what we can do for our relatives. We can see what we're doing for other people in our community, and so on and so forth. But the real thing is that we are trying to fix everything outside of us without fixing ourselves. Now, an empty glass cannot pour is my favorite dialogue, right? So you are trying to do something which is outside your space of capacity, is because you are not being able to provide the exact need that the opposite person might be needing from you. Right. So I do see a bunch of you have answered. So of course, so someone has said age is changing, we are changing. Someone's put in the answer section also. I keep changing. Well, great. So a lot of us always keep changing. I mean, apart from our clothes, we're constantly moody and we change our moods as well, right? So the fact is that we go and change things outside of us rather than changing ourselves. So moving on to my next one is, we're usually worried about how things will pan out without really looking what's happening within ourselves. So there are two kinds of changes that occur and that have occurred during these COVID times. One is outside and one is inside. And we really focus on the outside. You know why? Because that is something that we can see. That is a tangible sight. We can actually see the change that's happening around us. But we don't land up seeing the change that's happening within us. And sometimes, even if we do see the change that's happening within us, we tend to not accept that change very easily. Because we feel that, hey, I haven't changed. Everything around me has changed. People have changed around me. My job's changed, so maybe I'm a bit different. We don't like calling ourselves someone who's changed drastically or completely, because we associate the word change with something very negative, which is pretty much untrue, right? So our internal change, it was our choice and not our external change. And the minute you understand that what lies outside of you is non-controllable, but what lies within you is totally in your control. So the change that you go through here, and everywhere else is in your hands. So if you are having a bad stomach, it's what you've eaten, so you've put it in you, right? It's up to you. If somebody else is eating something on the table, it's not going to transcend into your bad food habits. It's not going to go into your stomach, correct? Same way, if you are thinking something, someone else has had a thought, okay? Example, someone else has had a thought, shared with you over WhatsApp, some scary news or, anything else. Today, I think the biggest university is WhatsApp University. It tells you things quicker than even news channels. So say somebody sends you somewhere on WhatsApp, okay? And what happens? You take it on, you process it through you, and that becomes you. But if you reject it and say, I don't want this, and let it go, it doesn't become a part of you. So change is our choice that happens within. The external change is not in our hands. So the minute we actually try to understand that the COVID scenario right now is the change that's happening outside. But a lot of us are, giving justifications by saying fear. We all are in this fear, we all are worried, creating this fear psychosis and telling ourselves that, it's so normal, it's so natural to be afraid today. No, it's not normal, and no, it's not afraid to be natural. It's not something that comes naturally. Fear is not something that your mind processes naturally. At birth, when a child is born, for a couple of months, you will realize that the child does not understand so many things and just does what he or she likes. You know why? Because they have no fear. But the minute you tell them about the boogeyman, about the scary uncle or the auntie, about anybody else, that's when you instill fear. And how do you instill fear within a child? You try to make that voice, you say something scary, you do something dramatic, which actually inherently looks very scary. And that's how fear comes to us. We don't naturally feel fearful, which is why some of us are daring and some of us are not, right? Because we choose it. Now, some of us jump off mountains and cliffs very easily. Why? Is because no one told them that that's something scary. But if you tell somebody who's just going to jump that, hey, don't you find this scary? That's the second he'll get nervous. So change is good. Sometimes it's for the better. And sometimes change currently might not look good, but it will get better, right? So moving on to my next one. Our inner world creates our outer world. It's what we think here that's what we transcend on the outside. So it's really, really important that we make the right choices. We make the right choices to process certain things that are within us. And change is a byproduct of everything that we imbibe, everything that we practice, and thereafter the repercussions of it is change. So today COVID-19 became so popular is because someone did something. That's how the virus got created, right, in the first place. And then it transcended and moved with everybody else. So what my point here is that if there are many things that will exist in the world, the choice is yours to really make it fearful or not, or to embrace it. So my favorite thing, what I tell a lot of my clients, is that the way we think will affect the way we feel, and that will affect the way how we behave and how others will react and respond to us. Now, today, for example, if I behave, if I think about, something which is very negative. Now, say, for example, relationships as well. What we do to our relationships by saying that, okay, he's changed, she's changed, and we kind of let them be, or we leave them out. We say this person's changed, I don't want to hang out with them anymore, I don't want to be with them anymore. But we don't really find out as to why or any of those things, right? So the way we think will affect the way we feel, and that feeling will then transcend into our behavior. And then our behavior, if we have an I don't care attitude about that relationship, will then make us become very careless of that relationship as well. So there is something which Sister Shivani, who I absolutely love and adore, she says something which has really engraved into my system. She says that sanskar se sansar banta hai, which means what you think and your value system makes your world, right? So coming back to my relationship example. So say in your relationship, there is a change of behavior with somebody. So one, obviously the opposite person, your partner, has a change of behavior. Now, what do? There are two options. Say the first option is you say, you know what, he's changed, and he's changed, and I don't think this is going to work because he's not the same as before, or she's not the same as before. And we either say that and we start to sulk, we start to crib about this with our friends. We also kind of, start to create all these thought bubbles and assumptions of our relationship. Or maybe they're having an affair with somebody else, maybe they're with somebody else, or they don't like me anymore, and so on and so forth. Right? Well, the reason could be actually something very different and completely drastic to what you were thinking. But what you have here done is you have made a choice of not wanting to get to know them, not wanting to understand really as to why have they changed, for what purpose have they changed. Could you be the reason for the change? No, I didn't do anything. So, I couldn't possibly be the reason, is what we all think. Because when we change, we don't see the change. We feel the change only when it's a positive one. When it's a negative one, we tend to not accept it in the first place. So instead of really rebuilding our relationship with that person, we retaliate. We say, no, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to leave the relationship. I'm walking out on the relationship, and so on and so forth. But instead of that, what we could have done is give the person time, give the person more love, give the person more patience. Long-lasting relationships don't happen overnight. You've got to invest in it. So what we have, our biggest problem is when we say people have changed in our lives. Our relationships have changed. That is something which is non-tangible, right? We don't get to see and touch and feel it. And that's our biggest problem with change. People's behavior has changed towards us and we can't accept it. But the question really is, what are you doing for it or not for it for that to happen? So today, if my spouse is unhappy or is changing, and I see and I notice that change, instead of coming to conclusion and assumptions, and instead of retaliating by shouting and screaming and arguing and fighting, I will focus on rebuilding the relationship. I will, a lot of us actually say, but why me and why should I do that? And I've done it 100 times over, and I'm not doing this one more time. But then essentially you are giving up on your relationship. So you are clapping in this with this hand as much as this person is clapping too, right? Tali dono haath se bajti hai. So same way, instead of actually giving up, what I personally would do is I would say, I'll be patient, I'll be kind, I'll be giving, I will try yet another time. And that is exactly how you can shift the change, which you thought was bad, to actually something which is more positive. Maybe it was just like a knock on you to say that, hey, there's something that you need to change about yourself, right? So let's try to see the change beyond us. And to that, I bring you to a thought. We have the choice to choose. We have the choice to choose that we want to make this change for the better. COVID-19 brought a lot of us into our homes to spend time with our families that we've never done in many, many years together. We probably once in a while would go on a holiday with them, and that's all we knew about them. But today we know so much. We know about where they keep their, certain small knickknacks, what they like to eat, what more would they like to eat beyond what you already knew. What are their thoughts and views about so many TV shows, what TV shows do they watch, and many, many more smaller things. We have the choice to choose. So make sure that whenever you look at change, you're not looking at it in a bad way. And of course, there are many times we all kind of, we want positive change, but we don't want to do things that make us change. And a few things that I have noticed down. So we want a clean city to live in, but we still want to litter and urinate on our roads. Bad, right? So then how is Bharat going to be Swachh anyway? The next thing is you want a promotion, but you don't want to take added responsibility. Like, come on, dude. Like, seriously, I want that hike, I want that raise, but you don't want to work for it. You don't want to take on responsibility. You don't want to show creativity at work. You don't want to be someone who works smart. By just clocking in and working hard, today you don't get a promotion. It's a very competitive world, correct? The next thing is you want a fit body, but you don't want to wake up in the morning and work out, or you don't want to have the correct kind of food. How are you going to get a fit body? Make sense? And last but not the least is that, you want a secure relationship, but you don't want to change your attitude of doubting your partner. So you're constantly doubting your partner and saying, did he do that? Did he do this? Did he do this? Did she do that? Is she going to leave me now? Is she going to be there for me? You don't trust them. So how will you have a stable, long-lasting relationship? So coming to my last point, but something which I am hoping that you all will all enjoy and find useful, is 7 ways how to deal with change, the Binaisha way. So this is something that I do, and I just thought that it's simple and easy, and that would kind of, get you going. So the first one is acknowledge that things are changing. So when COVID-19 happened and all of us were under one roof and, life was changing for a lot of us, we all needed to accept that things are changing. Whether it's for the good or whether it's for the bad, don't jump onto it. Just accept the change that yes, things are going to be different henceforth, and I am going to be mentally prepared for it, come what may. I will make it work, is the attitude that I started off with. The next one was that don't stress about stressing out. So sometimes we might stress out about something and be like, oh my God, I'm stressing, calm down. That doesn't help you calm down, by the way. That is stressing about stressing. So understand that you stressing about something is not going to help you channelize the correct thoughts, the positive way forward. So don't stress about stressing. The other thing, the third point, is focus on your values instead on your fears. So remind yourself of what is really important to you. So coming back to the relationship or a job that you are kind of having a change at, or things are not working out for you in that scenario, focus on the values. So what does this relationship bring to me? Why is this relationship important to me? Who is this person and why are they so important to me? Why is this job important to me? What is this job really teaching me and bringing the best out of me? So try to brainstorm and think of what is it that's important to you about that change. And that's when you'll figure out a coping mechanism for the change. The next one is don't expect stability from the outside, but create it on the inside. Coming back to coping mechanisms. So a lot of us feel like, okay, you know what? I'm going to look at stability on the outside. So what is the government doing? What is my husband doing? What is my wife doing? What are my parents doing? What are my in-laws doing? What everybody else is doing. What are my friends doing? I should be able to fall back on them if anything happens. So we're always making plan Bs. We're never focusing on plan A, which is us. So always remember that stability comes from the inside. When you build a building, you don't build beams and load-bearing walls outside, no? They're inside. And they build the structure. So you have to be your own load-bearing wall. So bring stability on the inside. The next one is accept your past, but fight for your future. So say, for example, you've had a bad experience with something, a bad job, a bad relationship, bad marriage, bad, relationship with your children, anything. Don't worry about it. That's taught you something. That made a couple of changes within you, made you learn a lot of things, brought you different opportunities. Your past relationship was probably a bridge to your future relationship, which today you are happy in. Don't sabotage and be like, okay, but what if she also leaves me, or what if he also leaves me just like the earlier one? No, fight for your future and say like, no, I'm gonna make it work, yeah? Because you are as much as responsible to make things work as your situation. So understand that diversions in life also lead you to destiny. Every time you think that, okay, you know what, my life is diverted from the plan, there are change of plans, no problem. When you're on a trip and someone says, okay guys, the road is blocked, change of plans, U-turn, and everyone's like, oh, so sad, blah, blah, blah. 1 hour later, everyone's chilling somewhere and saying, actually, thank God this happened. We got to chill, we got to do this instead of that. Well, don't worry. Diversions lead to your destiny. So have faith in that as well. And lastly, accept and, refrain. So here, view this as an opportunity to learn and grow. Because if you're looking at, like today, I think I've learned so much from this experience of COVID-19. Work from home has been actually so different, but yet supremely productive for so many of us. And as much as we would like to say that, no, I miss going to meet my friends and this and that, sure. But you've got to know your friends so much more over house parties, Zoom, WhatsApp call. You've earned and loved them so much more. You've cherished relationships so much more. We took the world for granted to begin with. And the world took it all away from us in a jiffy and said, hey, no, you deal with what you have. We dealt with all the food stock we had. We dealt with the people we lived with, whether we liked them or we didn't like them. Some of us got stuck with random people in different cities that we didn't belong to, and we called them roommates. So a lot of us learned from this situation. So to end, what I have to say is make a choice to take the chance and see your life change for the better. So I hope this brought you a bunch of insights, and I hope that now you can cope with change a little more positively and a little better. And I'm ready to take on your questions. Okay, so I already have a bunch, and I'm gonna start off. How long does it take to adjust to change? Well, that depends on you. There is no formula. It's not like malaria, itne din mein itna hoga, you will get well with this medicine. No, I don't think I have an answer to that, to be very honest, because everyone reflects to change very differently. I think some people are still coping with COVID-19. So, can the comfort zone be a barrier in coping with change? Absolutely. I think it's one of the first barriers. Today, how we are conditioned is what stops us sometimes. So what your parents might have taught you might be good for the 90s. But today, hey, we're in a different century. So you want to buck up and you want to change a couple of things around you. I mean, that's how I look at it. I think everything that you might have learned in school needs to be revision and re-improvised. And you should take to that. All right, so a bunch of you have said it's been helpful. Great. Some of you have said suggest some strategies to deal with change. I think I've already mentioned it. How can we adjust with change? Whole session on it. You can go back to the when I saved this as an Instagram live, IGTV, sorry. Can not letting yourself feel emotions help you with coping? Sneha, I'm not really sure of your question, so if you could rephrase it and send it back, that would be lovely. Why is it so that during certain situations or at night you feel the lowest or difficult to cope? So the thing is that when it's dark, we feel gloomy. So all these days that it's been raining, at least in Mumbai, it has been raining quite a bit. It's been very dull, it's been very gloomy. So even at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it looks like it's 7 in the evening. Darkness brings that mood to you, right? Darkness brings that mood to us, and it makes us feel a little internally, a little gloomy, a little sad. We want to hear all the saddest songs, and you should embrace that feeling as well, because our lowest moments can give us some deepest insights. I think all these insights that I've had, that I do on Mind Over Matter, are from my lowest moments. We learn the most profoundest things in our lowest moments, and I feel that it's so sad that a lot of people want to evade being sad, when actually sadness helps you be happy. So if you feel completely low in the evening, start journaling, start writing down what you really feel sad about, and then maybe in the morning you could revisit it and see that what could be your learnings because of any of these situations, and can anything be fixed by you. All right, so these were some questions. If you keep on feeling inspired of changing, then how to deal with those disappointments? I'm a little confused about this question. Dev Anmol. So if you could rephrase it and send it back, that would be great. If we keep our mind positive, will it help? Sure, it will help, but all this is being positive. So by just, a lot of people think that being positive is saying, calm down, be positive, all is well, all is well. No, that just works in the movie. Being positive is a lifestyle. It's a life skill that comes over months and years of, shifting your ideology and shifting the way you think about yourself. And that's how things will change about other people around you. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, so you've reverted back saying how to deal with disappointments, basically. Okay, so if you're disappointed with something, first what you've got to do is, okay, let's get an example. You submit a project to your boss or your teacher, whatever place you are in your life right now, okay, and they say, no, this is not good, please go back and do this again. You'd be surely disappointed that all your efforts were just like thrown away and said, go back and do it again. But try to understand that what did you miss out that you were actually supposed to do, right? So understand what you can do better rather than dwelling in the disappointment. So when somebody rejects you, don't be disappointed that why did they reject me? Like, you are some superstar, and even superstars get rejected. So there is no authority on any human being that who rejects them and how dare they reject. People can reject anyone and anything. All right. But understand, what can you do to be more likable? Focus on the answer rather than on the negativity of what has brought you down. So if today no one showed up at this live, I wouldn't worry that no one showed up at the live. I would think about, okay, no one showed up at the live, felt bad for 10 minutes, and then started to think, so Binaisha, what are you going to start doing now that will actually get people interested and sit here for 30 minutes and listen to you? And who are you to listen to? Think of those ways. And that's pretty much how I create my content. I think of the most simplest ways. I think of the most relatable examples. I think of the most easy words to kind of talk to you about. Because if I can't get through you, I won't get to you. So it's that simple. All right, great. So someone's asked me in the questions, how do you differentiate? This is my last question. How do you differentiate from change and evolve? So change is something which can either be drastic, so an A can become a B, but an evolution is a gradual change that happens, which you may notice or may not notice. So for example, when people have a bad relationship and they instantly file for divorce, that's a change. It's a drastic change. But if you've been fighting over a period of time, you have evolved into the divorce strategy anyway. So that's one way of looking at it. And evolution is usually a word that we use for positivity, and change we usually use for something that we don't like or something that drastically changes. So I hope that's the best answer that I can give you on it. And I hope it makes sense. Great. So I see a lot of you have liked this session and have been very, very engaging. Thank you all for sticking around. And see you next week on Mind Over Matter with a new topic. So take care and stay safe and be positive.